Well, hello everyone, and welcome to what is going to be the final episode of the BG Independent Podcast. I am your host, Dustin Galish. Well, this is kind of a bittersweet moment for me. As you all know, this is the 12th episode, or 13th now, of doing these podcasts. And, podcasting is not the only thing I've done for BG Independent, obviously. Doing lots of storytelling, live concerts, capturing city, civic events, breaking news. There's just been a big collection of things that I've been involved with BG Independent News over the last, what's been 3 years now. The reason there's been a change coming up is I recently took in a position with the University of Toledo as a program coordinator and video producer, which for me is really a wonderful opportunity for me to continue to push myself and expand my abilities as a storyteller. Much of the work that I had done with BG Independent News over the last 3 years had played a big role in me getting this position. Before I had started working with BG Independent News, it was kind of during the pandemic when I had lost my job at Aardvark Screen Printing, which is now 3Chord. But I sort of had run across Dave and was interviewing him as I was doing sort of these podcasts related to my band Tree No Leaves. And at that point, after interviewing Dave, he just felt like I had these skill sets that would translate well to BG Independent. And so he asked if I wanted to start doing some contract work. And the first story that I did actually was the Wood County Fair. And so it was my first time, doing anything for BG Independent News. I had done some voiceover for it. I didn't interview anybody, just filmed all these different animals and things that were going on at the fair that year. And that's really the thing that started it all. I mean, Dave and Jan really gave me sort of an empty canvas to sort of do whatever I wanted with. And so over the next 3 years, I've just been focusing on really just covering the things that I love about our town. Today I really want to talk about just the things that I want to review and just sort of need to be touched upon, I think, from a sense of maybe going back, if those who are listening, to kind of look at some of this stuff, if it fell through the cracks over the last couple of years, of just stories that I really appreciate, I've had a great time working on, and that maybe I'm just sort of proud of. And so one of the first things I'm really happy with, over the years is just the Grounds for Thought concert series that I had been booking for, I think, about 20 months now. It's pretty incredible that, Grounds gave me this opportunity to use this space, and BG Independent gave me this platform to tell these stories, to film bands. And so we did a sort of a cross section of all these artists, where sometimes I would interview them. Sometimes we'd only see these performances, like multi-camera editing, like an NPR Tiny Desk concert. And then I also did these other versions where it was sort of me reviewing the show, giving my feedback, my thoughts on the bands and the performers as they moved through their performance with different, sound clips and things like that. And so I've really been proud of those, because it helped me sort of capturing music in different ways, but also just, I love booking bands, bringing unique things to BG, which, is a big part of why this YouTube channel has been so unique. It's such a diverse collection of videos and stories, and it's really all over the place. For me, some of the stuff I'm the most proud of is sort of really the communal aspects of stuff, really telling the stories of the people behind the scenes. I think the thread of almost all this stuff that I've filmed over the last 3 years is really just how much interesting things happen in this town, and that it almost turns into like this breathing document of Bowling Green. The YouTube channel to me feels like a documentary with chapters. You could almost just start at the very beginning and just let them play through as a playlist. And it feels like this sort of living document of the city for the last 3 years. And so I'm really proud of that. I mean, there's really nothing's consistent in a sense, and there's no sort of double stories. I was trying to really always cover something different. And if it was the same event, it was a different angle on that event. So if it was a Black Film Arts Festival, 1 year it was the arts, the next it was the musicians, and then if maybe it was more the volunteer aspect. And so I think that's what's been really fun to find out, is just all the different types of stories that happen about events that happen every year. Some other stuff that I'm really happy with is really just sort of capturing all these different musicians who showed up in different places. It's staggering how many different artists are in this town and who play in different formations. Working with BGSU was fantastic, with the College of Music, doing various pieces on some of the sports, the National Construction Museum, lots of the historical museum. There's just so many stories, living history, so many things at Howard's. A lot of the work that the city is doing over the last few years has been phenomenal. So many events, just different things and activities for children. I think the Juneteenth series I'm super proud of. I think that was something that I'd love to catch over the last 3 years. Was how the Worcester Green has just become this really new place for everyone to come together, to celebrate, to do different things. Obviously, the solar eclipse that we recently had, for me, was sort of a magical moment in many ways, and a story that I'm super proud of as well. Another thing that's really fun is I was able to travel to Colombia in March of 2023 and film a documentary that I had recently put on our YouTube channel. And so I highly recommend checking that out. I think it's called The Journey to El Carmelo, and it's just a great story about how Grounds for Thought has created this relationship with a farmer in Colombia, and he's even expanded that now. I think Grounds has a relationship with a cacao farm and, coffee and all these things, the culture. And so it was really great to bring sort of an international flair to a local story. And that sort of gets me to start now talking about sort of the people that I've been working with over the last 3 years. And I think, Dave and Jan and Julie have really just been an inspiration to me to see how hard they are working, to how much time they spend every day talking about Bowling Green and how they can tell these stories. They're really true journalists. And I think the things I've taken from them over the last 3 years have really helped me identify good stories, to be committed to telling the story the right way and to being honest with your work. And I think that's been really amazing to work with individuals who I think are truly honest journalists who are trying to tell the story as close to the way it is actually happening as can be, which is tricky in this world. News is many times clickbait. It's sensationalism, and I think they've done such a wonderful job of creating their own sort of environment here for us to consume news that's local and regional in a way that I think we all appreciate. And so it's so important to keep supporting BG Independent News in any way that you can. With me walking away, I would love to see the video department or someone who would like to tell these stories with video to perhaps reach out to them to sort of continue this work. I think there's a place for it. You don't necessarily have to do the work in the same way. Video storytelling is really a big part of the news today. And I think it's really important for us to try to continue pushing and try to tell stories in a different way. Social media is one aspect of things. Our Facebook page has a lot of traction, but I still love that we have a website, a real place that you can set as your homepage in the morning. You can read stories that are separate from that entire world, and there aren't ads in your face, constantly trying to confuse you and click on things. They just want you to read this story. And so other things I really want to talk about is just all the underwriters, the other people that have made this possible for us. BG Independent is definitely user supported. It is funded by readers and organizations in town who really see us as an asset. And I think it's important for us to continue to build those relationships. And for me, it's if I was able to help do that in any way, I hope I did. And I hope I brought awareness to BG Independent News in a way that they didn't have before. I still wake up every morning and I check my BG Independent News before I head to Toledo and just try to see what's important, what's going on. And, I really love this town. I got my start here as a journalist, as a videographer. I initially had worked for a studio called Sea Lion Studio that we had a website called bgfile.com. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that one. This is like 2005 to 2009. But it was a website similar to kind of what BG Independent was doing, but none of us were real journalists, but we were telling stories with video, doing small mock-up write-ups. We focused on the arts, the culture, parks and recreation, civic organizations, the city, things like that. And that really planted the seed in my brain of what's possible on a local level by using current technologies to help tell stories and keep people informed. And I think BG Independent News has continued that tradition. BG File did not sustain. It only lasted a few years. But I think BG Independent News has the possibilities to sustain, to become something larger than just the individuals who have worked on it for all of these years. But a lot of that takes other people wanting to become involved. And so if you want to help BG Independent News in any way, please reach out to them and see what's possible. Because if more people aren't invested, there could be a shelf life to this. And I think we don't want to take something for granted that we all think is going to be here forever. And I think BG Independent News should be, and it's just such a wonderful source. I think every town should have something like this. It would be wonderful to have, every town have its own independent news source. But it's just not possible. But I think Bowling Green is one of those places that wants to nurture that, wants to support it. There's been evidence of that through BG Independent News growth over the last 5 years through financial support and viewership. So I just want to thank everyone again for just supporting BG Independent News, taking their time to listen to me, to listen to my stories, and just give BG Independent News a shot at really being the source for your news. And so I want to thank everyone who's been listening, everyone who has checked out my stories, and I look forward to seeing you in town and talking about whatever you want to talk about. So thank you so much. And I'm Dustin Galish, reporting for BG Independent News one last time. BG Independent News is made possible with support from people like you. Help keep news in Bowling Green free and accessible to everyone by becoming a contributor today. Visit bgindependentmedia.org/support to help Bowling Green's best source for local news, arts coverage, reviews, opinions, campus information, and community updates.